The long-running political drama called Catch Trump If You Can is still rolling along. This time, the Tom Hanks character is the entire January 6th committee, who in a federal court filing laid out a blueprint to catch Trump. Evidence that the former president and his pals were in on a criminal conspiracy by trying to block the certification of the 2020 election. Now, I'll repeat that in case you missed it. Criminal conspiracy. Now, that's a pretty big deal because it's the first time the committee laid out a possible criminal case against Trump. Now, you might be having a hard time getting excited about this new development after spending years watching Trump dodge all the hammers that were supposed to land on him. The Mueller report, the 25th Amendment, getting impeached twice.
Bye-bye.
The big tools that were supposed to stop him became famous for not doing that. And that's opened up an anxiety a lot of us didn't really have until the last few years. What's there to defend the Constitution if the people who swore to do just that don't? Well, there is one big red button you might not have heard of. It's tucked way down in the 14th Amendment of the Constitution. It's the rarely used Section 3, which disqualifies any office holder who took an oath to protect the Constitution and then, quote, engaged in insurrection or rebellion. It was quoted in last year's articles of impeachment against Donald Trump, and now it's being tested in an actual court of law. But against this guy, North Carolina Republican Congressman Madison Cawthorn, a Trump superfan who was really well prepared for insurrections.
Congressman, I wish this was under better circumstances. First of all, are you safe?
Charlie, I'm safe. Yes, as you know, I believe in the Second Amendment as well as a lot of other members. So we are armed. We're in safe location. We can't disclose where. Obviously, having the wheelchair, I'm able to carry multiple weapons at one time.
A legal team led by a nonprofit advocacy group is actually using Section 3 to try to keep Cawthorn's name off the ballot in November for spurring on the January 6 rioters.
But my friends, the Democrats, with all the fraud they have done in this election, the Republicans hiding and not fighting, they are trying to silence your voice.
Now, Cawthorn didn't actually get convicted of anything, but Section 3 doesn't require a guilty verdict to disqualify a candidate. Plus, GOP top dogs like Senator Mitch McConnell and Trump's own lawyer called what happened that day an insurrection, which could strengthen the case. Now, the capital B but here is what isn't spelled out in that amendment. Like what counts as engaging in an insurrection and who gets to disqualify people from holding office. Most of the examples we have for applying that provision are from the last time we used the words insurrection and president in the same sentence, when there was a president of the Confederacy.
There were many officials who were removed from office in the states after the Civil War ended because they were the same officials who had been in office during the Confederacy. Also, there were people who were excluded from, say, becoming members of Congress because they had been participants in the Confederacy. Some people received amnesty because they were helping the Union or were basically doing things to bring about reconciliation. At a certain point, though, that kind of became either a situation of political favoritism, or there was just a thought that maybe we should just have a general law that decided who should get amnesty and who shouldn't.
That led to another historical super deep cut, the Amnesty Act of 1872. Basically, that act limited Section 3 to lawmakers who served just before and during the Civil War, and then went on to try to destroy the country. But does it forgive the insurrectionists of the future? Madison Cawthorn's lawyer argued that it does. And it might sound wild, but a federal Trump-appointed judge thought it was a good enough reason to block the challenge to Cawthorn's candidacy. It's under appeal. Now, Cawthorn's case isn't only a big deal because of what he said. North Carolina is the one state where the burden of proof lies on the office seeker if someone has a, quote, reasonable suspicion or belief that they're unqualified. That makes it a decent test site for a potential Section 3 challenge to other reps from other states, ones who might have also played a role in January 6th, and also to Donald Trump if he decides to run again. By saying he engaged in a criminal conspiracy, the House committee could also be laying a blueprint to disqualify him if he does run again. That's a strategy that could leave the Supreme Court deciding if the rule could be used in a way that's so unexpected that even its authors didn't contemplate it would ever be used on a president. But one key difference between the Reconstruction era and now, people back in the Union were honest about who the insurrectionists were. Now, the very definition of an insurrection depends on which party you ask. Section 3's whole point was to defend the Constitution, but it really only works when the people who are supposed to defend it can tell the difference between legitimate political discourse and a system that's under attack.